Hello everyone, and welcome to the Vmware VCP7 course. This course is being taught by my boss and very talented IT instructor Syed Amir Shahzad. You will get to learn it with clear concepts-based lectures, colorful diagrams, fun and jokes, and best of all, step-by-step, hands-on, labs. Let's tune in to Amir's Vmware course.
We're gonna check what we were doing in last episode. Okay, trying tool of all times, paintbrush. Okay, so let's get started. So what we have done till now is I'm gonna grab that diagram from the okay. And so we have the environment configured. We have deployed in last class. We have deployed from the Windows machine that VCSA. So that VCSA, right? Wow, what a big one. So that VCSA. VCS is just a virtual machine with the Photon iOS. That's VMware operating system, Photon, Linux based, obviously. And on top of this is our beloved vCenter, right? So that is what we're going to explore throughout. And let's get down to this. So what we need to do is we need to turn on all 4 machines. We have also added total 10 NICs to only E6i 2 and 3. And now let's check out if first of all 4 machines are up, and second thing, if the VCS is up and are we able to log into that. We're going to be checking out all that. I'll just quickly open the slide in the other screen, and on the other screen I'm just going for the slide. So this is actually week 8, right? So week 7. So guys, not all are here. Okay, we'll ask when everyone's here. When do you want the midterm? This Monday, right? No, actually it is supposed to be this Monday. Okay, week 7. Okay, and then I'm just creating that quick folder on my laptop for the other class, week 8, which is 31st of October. And that's week 8. So the quiz is going to be this Monday. And okay. Okay. So I'm just opening the slide now. Yeah. So if we go down to our steps, create 2 data centers inside next major steps. So yeah, as I explained in the diagram as well, that we have deployed the vCenter. Let's get the 4 hypervisors up, and then let's try to log into the vCenter as in the last class, which happened last class. So I'm gonna go inside and check if everything is okay, and then we're gonna talk about what our major next steps would be. So I've logged into my vCenter, actually vCloud, and suspended, yeah. And lease is 23 days, okay. So I'm just gonna simply power on all the machines. So first I'm gonna go down to my Windows VM actions, power on, and then ESXi1, that's our VIP hypervisor, because our vCenter is living inside ESXi1. right? This virtual machine is the most important machine. Through this machine, we're going to be connecting and configuring the whole environment and configuring all the advanced features. So E6i1, I'll just power on this one now, and then E6i2 power on, and E6i3 power on. Okay, so the Windows should be able to start. 6 days lease remaining. I'll just renew the lease anyway. Actions. There's a renew lease here, and save. Okay. So I need to go inside the VM01. So I'm gonna click VM console. Okay. And in VM console, it was suspended, right? So it was frozen, right? So whatever windows I had open, whatever tabs I had open, all that is there. But I don't want to log into the vCenter. Why? Because first, so if I go to the diagram here, this machine is up, this hypervisor is up, or this machine is up, this is not hypervisor. But I need to wait for E6i1 to go up, and I want this, I want what? And where's the pen? Brush, calligraphy, airbrush, all brush, marker. Yeah, I need a marker, I guess. So I need this hypervisor. Oh man. Okay. So this VCSA to be up. Natural pencil. And that's brush. So yeah, this hypervisor I need up. And before that, obviously, it's host. The hypervisor it needs to be up, and this is not hypervisor. This is the vCenter. So first, the hypervisor should be up. Second is the VCSA or the virtual machine with the vCenter inside, which is being hosted by this hypervisor. This needs to be up. Then I can only log in from here inside the vCenter, right? So if I go back here, I'm pretty much there. Like this is the browser, right? If I minimize, this is my Windows environment. In fact, this was the installation that finished, and then we click this URL to log into the vCenter. So I'm going to minimize that to minimize pretty much everything. So what I want is, so I'm in that Google Chrome, and I want to connect to the vCenter, right? So I'm just going to go there to the vCloud, and I'm just going to check that if the hypervisor is up. Definitely by this time, it should be up. So if I go to the vCloud and go to the VM console, and unknown error occurred while communicating with the server. Oh, really? Man, don't scare me. Yeah, it is up. E6i1 is up, and it is actually, you can see here that it is 14 GB, right? So keep it like that. We need that 14 GB throughout, because vCenter really is going to be heavy. Okay, there's a, let's go ahead. And now, guys, let me just try to log in first, and then I will come to your machines as well. So let's go back to, so here, VM console, and I'm gonna try to log in. We know already that we're gonna log in from root to the vCenter, right? Everyone agrees with that? With the vCenter root, right? Hey, Samuel and Arun says yes. Huh? What? Yeah.
So, in the browsers, it says no Heli off stream, so I can't even access the page.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Nemo, I just said that. Let me just log in first mine.
Oh, okay.
Then I will connect to yours, definitely. Okay, no problem. So we're gonna to the vCenter. How do we log in? Through root? And the answer is no. So just try to understand this, guys. That when okay, I really need something. What has become of this? Okay, paintbrush. So oh, there it is. What is this? Oh yeah, this is what I needed. Okay, so guys, when we connect to the hypervisor, we use root. when we connect to the vCenter, we do not use root, right? We go for what you already are seeing there, and that's the default user with all the powers inside the vCenter. So we're going to use that with the domain that we created. Okay, Mary also says in the chat that I can't open. So yeah, there are two machines. Sure, just guys, let me connect to mine, and then I'm coming to yours. So I'm gonna just log in with the class password to my vCenter. I'll try to log in. If I can't, then I'll show you the troubleshooting as well. Oh, did I put the correct password? Small z, okay, I'll refresh this because it was out of suspension. Okay, yeah. So it's gonna make that connection again from the first machine, Windows machine, to the vCenter. So I'm just gonna go through the proceed process, and there you go, the band request. Oh, okay. So this concepts, and hopefully some of the interviews, they were good. I mean, not hopefully. I mean, some of the interviews were good with what they understood from the class. Okay. So Samuel, is it possible if I could connect to your machine so we could?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just quickly connect because we have precious time here to learn something. This environment might take time even for my machine to start. Okay, so Samuel, if you may disconnect from there, and I will connect to your machine, and we can start understanding how to configure the vCenter basically. Thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay. So guys, I hope you all understand. What I'm doing, I need to really show you all the long labs and difficult configurations. Please try to understand, concentrate now on understanding what's going on. Now, what we are doing is, if we are in this environment, we want to configure this machine vCenter. So it was newly deployed vCenter, right? And it needs to be basically configured. So what it needs to know is it needs to be introduced to the hypervisors here. We have only two hypervisors to test, actually total three, but these two will be our testing range, we can say, or guinea pigs. So, but suppose it's a very big environment and you have 200 hypervisors here. So they all have to be introduced to the vCenter. So vCenter could manage them remotely. And vCenter, okay, Irene says login successful. Way to go, way to go. Okay, so here, now let's first configure this environment. So in order to introduce the hypervisors, vCenter itself has to be basically configured correctly as well, right? So how do we configure the vCenter correctly? If we go back here, this is the vCenter, right? So this is the vCenter, and I'm going to right click here, and I'm going to create. So you can see here that there's a data center, there's new folder, there is export system logs. Logs, we know that it saves the whatever event happened with a timestamp, that at that time this event happened. Assign license. So if you have purchased a license, it's a pretty expensive license, so then you can assign from here for the whole vCenter. And vCenter licensing works with the how many cores, physical processor cores you have, and then you have to pay certain $1,000 for that. Big companies, it's no big deal. They are earning in millions. Okay, and asset tag, this is just to identify that, oh, this belongs to suppose Toronto branch, this belongs to New York branch, this belongs to downtown Toronto, etc. Permissions, obviously, on the vCenter level, you have to be very, very careful. Who do you give the highest permission here of administrator, or you can give a reader permission. Reader means that you cannot change anything, but you can see all the configurations. That would be reader configuration, right? Alarms, obviously, all the alerts you can create for here. Suppose vCenter goes down, alert me through email or text, whatever communication system is configured with this vCenter. Right now, what I need to do is to basically configure the vCenter. How do I do that? There's a folder, there's a data center. So everything that we need to configure the vCenter lives inside this data center. If I create a data center, then I can further see all the advanced features of the vCenter. If I don't create a data center, then there's no use of coming here. Okay, so before that, what is folder? Folder is for organization. So suppose, and in fact, we're gonna pretend that if I go to the diagram, we're gonna pretend that we have one Toronto branch and we have one New York branch, right? So we're gonna create a folder called Canada, and we're going to create a folder called US, right? So in Canada, we're going to add, so this is the folder, right? Then under the folder, we're going to create a data center called Tor DC. And under the folder USA, we're going to create a data center called NYDC. And furthermore, we're going to be connecting ESXi2. We're pretending that in the Toronto branch, we have the hypervisor ESXi2, and we're pretending that in New York branch, we have ESXi3. Now, why are we doing this? We want to explore all the features of a vCenter. That's why we are pretending, oh, we have two branches. Otherwise, we can just have one data center created and everything inside is there already. But just to show that slightly bigger environments, how we configure that and how do we use folder for that, right? So if I go back to this environment here, there's folder. If I can directly create a data center here and start working with the features, right? But I just need to show the organization as well. So if I click the new folder, the only thing it asks is what is the name, right? So if I say that this is Canada, and I just press OK here. So because suppose our branches are in two countries, so we're creating such objects here. So I'm going to right click on the vCenter again, and I'm going to create another folder, and that would be USA, and press O and K. This no inside the folder. So once we click on the folder itself and right click to see more options, what else we can do? So inside the folder, we can create further folders. Suppose you have Ontario, you have two branches, and in Quebec, you have three branches, and in other Alberta, you have one branch. Suppose if that's the case, you can further create subfolders inside that main folder, right? But now I'm going to go for data center inside this folder, and because all the features are inside the data center for the vCenter, right? So I'm going to click that new data center, and then it says, oh, you want to name that data center? Yeah. So as we planned, it's Tor DC, Toronto Data Center. And we're going to know that what features are inside the data center. So I'm just going to press OK here to create our data center. Then we're going to explore, obviously. So under the folder Canada, there's a data center called Tor DC. Under the folder USA, I'm going to right click on the folder USA, and I'm going to create a data center called NYDC, right? So we're pretending that there are two branches, and each branch is in a different country, and one hypervisor is in one branch, other hypervisor is in the other branch. Okay, so this is just the basic organization of the vCenter. But if you click the data center now and then right click it, so you see a lot of features here. We can add host. Host is the hypervisor. If I go to the diagram here, so anyone can tell me how many hosts are there? How many hosts we have here? Anyone knows how many hosts we have here?
Three.
Not four?
Three.
You sure? Exactly. Oh, hey, come on. So yeah, host number one, host number two, host number three, because host is hypervisor, right? So this hypervisor, this is hypervisor, this is hypervisor, this is hypervisor, and this is hypervisor. This is a Windows machine, right? So all three are hypervisors, VMware hypervisors, so they are also considered as hosts. If I go back here, so obviously, as I said, that vCenter needs to know how many hosts are there. It is like, suppose you have 3 Windows 10 here, those who have been working in Windows environment. So, and this is a domain controller, or this is that server which controls the whole environment. So 3 Windows 10 needs to join the domain. So just like that, the 3 Windows 10 suppose are supposed to join the domain. So centrally they could be maintained and configured, right, and secured. So these 2 hosts or 3 hypervisors or 3 hosts need to join the vCenter. So vCenter could centrally manage them, the hypervisors or the host. So make sure that you are used to this term. Whenever I say hypervisor, it also means host, and whenever I say host, it also means hypervisor, right? They're all host. They are not ghost because it's Halloween. So yeah, you can actually consider them ghost as well. But for now, it's host. Okay, so next thing is cluster. This is where all the advanced features of FT, like fault tolerance, and DRS, distributed resource scheduler, vSAN, HA, high availability, and many other features are there. But obviously, before that, we need to explore the vCenter features and some of the networking features here as well. So, and then new folder, yes, we can create. Even under the data center, we can create new folders. And it also asks, shows you new host and cluster folder. Host and cluster means this is this. So when I was last class showing you that this is host and cluster section, or if I go here, menu, host and clusters is this icon. So if I click that, this is this area, right? If I go to VMs and templates, this is this section. If I click that, if there are any virtual machines, it will show here. If I go to storage, this is this section. If I click there, so any storage will only show if we have added any hypervisor or host to the vCenter, which we will be doing now. And then fourth is networking, which is this section, right? Because we're going to be going to these sections back and forth a lot, right? So networking, any of the standard switches or distributed switch will show here in the networking section, right? So this is that hosting cluster. So if I go to data center, that's what I was showing, right? Right click. So if I create new folder, so host and cluster related folder can be created here where all the hosts should be showing, and network related folder. And so folders also have category here. It's not like folder is just for organization. Yes, it is for organization as well as for keeping specific types of features and objects here. So folder is used for that too. Distributed switch, we're going to go with that. It's an upcoming lab. New virtual machine, you can create virtual machine directly from the data center level, but you first have to add some hosts here for the environment to become a proper professional environment, right? And OVF, we're going to be doing that lab. OVF is Open Virtualization Framework, and it's simply, whenever you see the word OVF, this means import or export of virtual machines. Import, export of virtual machines, right? So OVF, we're going to do a lab and you're going to see. Storage, yeah, you can create new data stores. Remember, we already created data stores. So here you can create VM compatibility. This is if you have upgraded anything, like from this is our 7.01 version, right? So you want to upgrade to from 6.7 version, you are upgrading to 7, or 7 version, you're upgrading to 8. So it shows you that which version the virtual machine is on. Migrate VMs, yeah, it's for migration. We're going to be doing migration as well. Move to, you want to move the resources from Canada folder to US folder, or any hypervisor to another hypervisor. So there's move to, rename and tags. These are all the alarms and permissions and delete. So what we need to do now is we need to configure the whole environment. So we need to introduce ESXi2 to the hypervisor, to the vCenter, and ESXi3 host or hypervisor to the vCenter. They're gonna say hi, hello, hi now, right? Okay, let's do it. So I need to go to Toronto DC first, and we decided that E6I2 will be, we're pretending that it's in Toronto, right? So it will be going to the Toronto data center or Toronto DC, right? So if I go back here, Toronto DC, right click, add host, right? So if I click add host, it's gonna say or ask all these questions that, hey, where is that host? What is the name of the host? Can I communicate with the host? Is it on the network? And then it's going to ask furthermore options or questions. So let's go with adding the host E6I2 first, right? So, okay, here, host name or IP address. Now, in the diagram, we see that, oh, there is E6I2 here. Okay, we can add its IP as well, but recommended is to add the host by name, obviously, because by name access is, suppose there are 200 hypervisors, right? And those 200 hypervisors or hosts, they all you added as IP. So you can't really remember numbers, but names you can remember. Suppose there are 100 hosts in Toronto, 100 hosts in New York. So the hosts in Toronto, you would name them, suppose Tor or just T138 something something. So from T, you would already know that, oh yeah, that's a Toronto DC, Toronto host or Toronto hypervisor. And for the 100 hosts here in the New York, you would just start with N, 5 to 8, suppose. So you get the idea that naming convention. So first of all, by name you need to add. Second thing, naming convention has to be smart. Third thing, naming convention should not give away hackers that the functionality of the machine, the functionality of the host. Suppose this host actually belongs to sales, or the virtual machines on this host belong to sales department or marketing department or finance department, the most important one. So all virtual machines on this host belong to finance department. Suppose you say that, oh, E6I3 is actually fin03. So T fin03. From fin, it could give away that, oh, okay, fin could be financial. So instead, go for some conventions. So suppose 13 is the 13th department, or 8 is the um, suppose there are floors, so 8 is a next floor, floor number 8. So it could be anything. It could mean anything that should be meaningful to you, but for hackers, they should not be able to guess right away. Oh, that's the most important machine. Thank you, administrator, for naming it properly. Thank you for making it us hack it easily now, or target it easily. Okay, anyway, so we're gonna go back here, and I need to add the host name or IP address. Obviously, I'm gonna open the host. I'm going to go for the name. So what is the fully qualified domain name of E6I2? I'm going to go there to server manager, this one, because I need to go to DNS and just check out the, tools, DNS. I'm just checking the full name, power lookup zone, this. So E6I2 A record is there. And if I double click that E6I2 A record, it will give me this fully qualified domain name, which is this. So I'm just going to copy the whole thing. I could just type it as well, but obviously I don't want to misspell. I'm just going to close this DNS and go back to the wizard and paste. Now, if it's over the network, if your DNS, if your name resolution service is working fine, then it should connect to the host with no issues, right? So that's the full FQDN, or fully qualified domain name. I'm going to click next. So name of the machine and name of the domain is fully qualified domain name. Next. And yeah, so it should be root, right? WC 2.23. I hope that was a class password you gave. I'll click next. We'll know now. Okay, so it is trying to confirm if, hey, is that the correct host you're supposed to be connecting to? I may have shown that before, but yeah, I showed that before when we were deploying the vCenter to the E6i1. But this is, you can see from DCUI or direct console user interface in your hypervisor. You can directly log in and go to the second last option. There you will see that this same SHA-1 thumbprint, which is self-signed security certificate number or address that shows that you're connecting to the correct hypervisor, right? So I'm going to press yes, that yeah, this is the one. Okay, if you see this screen, this means that that connectivity from this machine to this host or hypervisor is okay, is good, right? So the screen shows that if you reach this screen. So next, otherwise errors come. If there's a connectivity issue, errors will come and you won't be able to see this screen. So if I click next now, so yeah, it says that, oh, it's evaluation license, okay. And oops, expires in 40 days. Okay, next.
Hello, sir.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry. The second step, connection settings. What should we put?
Connection settings. So you should be putting the fully qualified domain name. Okay, let me just go there. Oh, it's the root. Yes, exactly.
Root.
Root
Okay.
and password. Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, next one is the one. Okay, so here is, and yes, anyone behind just few steps, you can come to the mic and just ask quickly, no problem. And okay, here evaluation license, right? It's just evaluation. Next. So guys, this is lockdown mode. I may have mentioned this before as well, but what is lockdown mode? And there is a normal mode and there's a strict mode as well, right? So lockdown mode is for security purpose, and what happens here is that through browser, right? Through browser, you know, we can connect to through browser if you type E6i01 or your first name is 6i01, right? So by name, it connects to any hypervisor through browser. So it says that lockdown mode will not let you connect through browser. It will let you directly connect to the hypervisor through direct console user interface, which is DCUI. What is DCUI? If I go here and open this console, so this area is DCUI, direct console user interface, right? You can directly connect here, communicate here, or just configure the basic configurations. So through browser, which is the easiest one to connect to any hypervisor from any machine within the network. So that causes more security threats, right? So browser, no. But from DCUI, you can connect in a you know, that normal lockdown mode, yes, and through vCenter also you can connect, but you cannot connect for browser because that's the most easiest way to connect to a hypervisor. It will, so lockdown mode is very crucial, and normal lockdown mode minimum, at least we should have this normal lockdown mode if you want to secure our hypervisors from any misconfigurations or hacker attacks. Strict is that the host is accessible only through vCenter. The direct console user interface or DCUI service is stopped as well. So that's obviously, as the word says, strict. So you won't be able to connect from browser in the strict lockdown mode. You won't be able to connect from DCUI as well. In the strict lockdown mode, you will only be able to connect through vCenter. So that would be strict, but we're not going to go for the strict mode. Suppose the vCenter has some issue, you must have to create then another emergency account, user account, to log in directly from the virtual machine itself. or log into the vCenter from another hidden account as well. But otherwise, strict mode does not allow you from 2 out of 3 sources to connect. We're going to stick to normal mode, normal lockdown mode, which allows us with DCUI and vCenter, right? So I'm going to select normal mode, lockdown mode, and click next. Yep, it's the Tor DC. And next, yes, that's a summary and finito, right? So it's adding that our best friend here is recent tasks. This is our best friend, right? It says here right away, and always keep an eye on the progress here. Sometimes it is stuck somewhere with an error. And if you're not looking here, we're just expecting something to appear here. While we're not looking here, after some time has passed, then we go down, oh, there's an error. Okay. So if I expand here, you can see that the host E6i2 has been added to Toronto data center. Now I'm going to go for, as our plan, I'm going to go to the New York data center and pretending that it's in New York. Obviously, you can see that suppose it was 5 or 6 countries your company branches are. In the dashboard, it would show in one area, but in the background, obviously, the networking would be the complexity that how each machine across the branch is connected to the other machine, right? Okay, so I need to add the E6i3 to NYDC. If we go to the diagram here, now this guy needs to be introduced to this host as well, right? Okay, so I'm going to go here and go to the data center level, right click here, and there's a add host option. And I'm going to click that add host. So I do need the correct spellings of the fully qualified domain name of ESXi03. So I'm going to go back here to the server manager. I'm going to go to tools, DNS, forward lookup zone expand, domain zone expand, and there's my ESXi03 A record. Double click that and grab the fully qualified domain name from there and Control C or right click and copy and cancel and close this. Minimize. Okay, so you know the drill. We have done that previously for E6i2. Now, so at this point only, I'm always like apprehensive that I hope the connectivity has no issues. So I'm gonna click next here. Yeah, I have to give the correct username password. And next, then it comes up with this. So after this, if there are no connectivity issues, then you will see the next screen, right? So yes, oh, good. Okay, so then it's the same thing. Evaluation license, next. Normal lockdown mode, we know that already now. So we click next. NYDC, yeah, that's the data center. And then the final summary of that to add the second host to the second data center. Later, there are some labs that require that both hosts be under one data center. So we're going to move this host from NYDC data center to Tor data center, but it would be later. Let's click finish. So the recent task says standalone NYDC 80%. It's happening 90%.
Can I have a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so how did we create a Canada site in the first place, Canada and US?
Yeah, you have to right click here in this area, this top line, just right click here.
Yes.
And new folder.
Okay. And then the data center, yes.
Yeah, inside that, right click on the folder, there will be data center, name them accordingly as we did. And then on the data center, right click, add host.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Okay, so, okay guys, so this is the introduction of the host. If we go to the mess or the diagram, the two hosts have been introduced to the vCenter, and vCenter is now able to manage them remotely, right? So whatever is related to the host, the vCenter is able to manage it. So if I go inside and see this, so that was the top tier, like Canada. Then the folder expands to the data center expands to the host. If I click that further, if I expand the host, there's nothing inside, right? But if I click it, so there's summary, monitor, configure, permissions, VMs, whatever VMs are inside. On this host level, if you want to give any administrator the permission that you can manage this host only, you can do that. Resource pools, data stores. We're going to talk about resource pool. That's an upcoming lab. And data stores, we already talked about. So if we go to the creation of a virtual machine, because now what we need to do, in fact, I need another screen to explain further. I'll grab that diagram from the other screen. Yeah, let me know if anyone is just, right behind and needs some questions, what to do here, if you're just going through the wizard. Okay, so here, now we have been able to, so this is our appliance, VCSA, and from there, we are able to add the two hosts, right? Now, these hosts have, in fact, I may have the other diagram here as well. Oh, that's quite messy. So let me create that. Remember that we added 3 disks or 3 lawns. And those lawns are, each lawn is mapped to all the hypervisors, and that's very important for all the next labs and for high availability of virtual machines and data. So that's the other one, and that's the third one. Oh man, okay. Yeah, I hope you're able to see that properly. And then obviously these are, this is, I'm gonna actually make a copy of this for later. I'm just creating a clean, neat and clean diagram now. 20, what? 36. Okay, that's lawn 1. I'll copy that, and that's oh, what is 36? Okay, anyway, lawn 2, and that's lawn 3, right? So lawns are the disks that are shared over the network. But on top of the lawns, remember, I hope you do remember that we had, anyone knows the name? On top of the LAN, we created something. What is that called?
Data center.
No, but very near.
Data stores.
Data store, sir.
Exactly, data stores. So we created data stores on top of that, and these data stores, because of these data stores, the virtual machines are able to find the storage. So these are the data stores. Data store. Yeah, we put a naming convention, but right now, just to explain that, I'm going for the blue ones are the data stores on top of the LAN, right? Oh, that was not one. That was, so this is 3, and yeah, okay. Control Z, Control Z. I'll just quickly fit that here because this diagram will be very important for you in all next labs. This is 3. Okay. So gray ones are the ones that are shared disks over the network coming from SAN, storage area network, in a professional environment, and on top of them are the data stores 1, 2, and 3. Right now, professionally, we have to create a virtual machine on top of a LAN-based data store. We're not going to create virtual machine on top of local disk-based data store. That is not professional, but this virtual machine has to be created. And virtual machine, all files will be on the data store, and virtual machine's disk will be on the data store, right? So that is VM, and this is its virtual disk. So this map should be in your mind all the time when you're talking about the VMware or VMware environment, or VM, I don't know where. Oh, okay. So here, now this diagram I will need later as well. So I don't have to create that every time when I'm explaining. So I'll put it in WhatsApp as well for your reference when you're going to interview. So keep a basic diagram in your mind or in your cell phone. Okay. And here in both chats. Okay. So here, now what I'm trying to say here is that we have a virtual a vCenter or VCSA created here. And in fact, obviously this vCenter is also created on the LAN-based data store. This is also created on a LAN-based data store. If we go here, this is the VCSA, and that's the VDisk of the VCSA. Every component has to be clearly in mind that where is which component and why, right? So this is our environment, man, actually, with the virtual machine explanation. This diagram, I'll just save it here and remove the previous diagram on my drawing collection. So what I'm trying to say here is that we need to create, we already have the data stores, we already have the LANs and data stores on top of that. First of all, we're going to explore the inside of the vCenter and the newly added hosts or hypervisors. We can also create a virtual machine that will connect automatically to the storage, that will detect the storage that we have created from SAN. Okay, let me just put it here. This is storage area network, right? We're pretending that it is storage area network. And so we're going to create a virtual machine now, and it's going to automatically use SAN because we're going to create it on top of the data store that is on top of the LAN that is being mapped or coming from over the network from SAN, right? But we're going to also see that this machine will connect to, oh, where is that? Oh, yeah. The standard switches. So these are standard switches are automatically okay. Standard switches are automatically created when the hypervisor gets created, right? So these vSwitch, that's and VMware call them vSwitch, right? VMware call them vSwitch. And these vSwitches are connected to what? Automatically, they are connected to the physical NIC. They are connected to the physical NIC, right? And when the virtual machine gets created, its files and virtual disk is created on a data store that is living on top of the LAN or shared disk over the network, which is coming from SAN. But the virtual machine virtual network card, virtual machine also has its own virtual network card, right? So that virtual network card has to connect to something that provides network, right? So virtual machine network card connects to the virtual standard switch. Virtual standard switch is already connected to physical network card. Physical network card obviously is connected to physical switch. Phi switch, right? Physical switch obviously has to connect to something that takes it to the internet. So it's connected to router, firewall, router. We can also multiple routers or layer 3 switches, right? Firewall, and ultimately it goes to ISP, right? / internet. Okay, so that's the actual diagram, and yeah, I would need this guy as well. So I'll just put that overall connectivity to my set of diagrams and on WhatsApp as well. Okay, so you can check a typical VMware environment now. Okay, what we need to do first, now I'm going to mess it up because I have a copy of this. So let's create a virtual machine first, right? And we're going to check that it's going to automatically connect to the virtual standard switch. It's networking, and its virtual disk will connect to the data store itself. So let's create a virtual machine to see the components of after vCenter, what kind of extra features are there and components are there, and then we're going to go for resource pools. Then we're going to go for VApp, and then import export virtual machines. We're going to go through all that smaller features until we start going for the bigger features. So first thing is how virtual machine is created. So Mariam says in the chat, is this what they call nesting? Nesting is virtualization inside virtualization, right? So in our case, if this was a professional environment, so this is a physical machine. This is a physical machine. This is a physical machine. On top of that is the hypervisor deployed, right? Hypervisor deployed. So inside the hypervisor or over the hypervisor, we deploy virtual machines. So this is not nesting, but if this inside this virtual machine, you install another hypervisor, and inside this hypervisor, you create virtual machine. So this VM is inside hypervisor. This hypervisor is inside another virtual machine. This virtual machine is in a hardware, on a hardware. So yes, then it will be nested virtualization, which means that hypervisor inside hypervisor or virtual machine inside virtual machine. So right now in a professional environment, the hypervisor is directly installed on a physical server, so it's not nested. But if we see our current environment, so we are on top of Humber vCloud, right? So yes, our current environment is nested because this is virtualization. On top of this, we have created a virtual machine, which is supposed to be a physical server, but it's a virtual machine. Inside this, we're going to be creating a virtual machine. So yes, that would be virtual machine inside virtual machine, and that would be nested virtualization. So current setup is nested virtualization. Professional setup is not nested unless you want to create inside that virtual machine another virtual environment. Then it would be nested. Okay. Okay. So what was I talking? Yeah. So let's create a virtual machine here and let's see all the components there and understand some more features step by step as we are doing the lab. So I'm going to go back to this environment. And I'm inside the vCenter here, and there on the hypervisor level, this is supposed to be a physical server, right? And the other branch has this its own physical server. So I'm going to right-click the hypervisor, and it says, "Oh, you want to create a new virtual machine?" Yes, we can. OVF, always remember, this means import, export, virtual machine. New resource pool, we're going to talk about that. VApp, we're going to talk about that. Maintenance mode means now we're talking about the hypervisor level or host level features, right? So when you right click, those all show. Maintenance mode is that virtual machines will not work in this state. If I click the enter maintenance mode, which I'm not going to click now, so it will then, if there were virtual machines on top of it, it's gonna either migrate them away to another hypervisor, and migration or vMotion we haven't configured yet, but if we had configured, it would have migrated them away. Suppose we cannot migrate and we enter the maintenance mode and there are virtual machines, so those virtual machines will be shut down, and then it will go to maintenance mode. Maintenance mode, as the word says, it's for maintenance of the hypervisor itself. You want to install some extra package there, some third-party application or package, or some hardware you're adding, or some drivers you're adding for the disk or some network or something. Then you enter maintenance mode, or just doing maintenance of this with updates from latest security updates and other things. So then there's connection. Suppose it's kind of not replying, responding, you can make disconnect, and then you can click connect. So once you click connect, it will start that wizard that we started to add this hypervisor to the vCenter. It will start that wizard. So disconnection is a last resort, that nothing else is working, and through the vCenter you cannot see this hypervisor or connect to. Then you can click disconnect and then connect. This is a troubleshooting. Power, obviously you can power off and put in standby mode or reset or shut down, right? Certificates, if you have security certificate purchased from a CA certificate authority like GoDaddy.com, like verisign.com, like digicert.com. So those authorities provide you security certificates. If you install them here, then when the users connect to the applications that are hosted on this hypervisor, so they will have a relief that this is a secure resource because it has a security certificate from a renowned certificate authority like DigiCert, bank stake security certificates from DigiCert, and security certificates allow encryption, heavy encryption to be implemented. Then so it secures the environment. Okay, and then storage, new data store you can create here on the hypervisor level. Networking, you can add more standard switches there. Host profiles is for you want to copy the current configuration of the whole hypervisor. And first, so like you can extract host profile means whatever is configured in this host or in this hypervisor, copy all that Now, suppose you are about to deploy new host, new hypervisor. You just installed it, but you haven't configured it. So you can copy the configuration information of this already configured host, copy it to the new host. So all the configuration of this hypervisor will be, copied, implemented on the new hypervisor as well. So that's what host profiles are really for. System logs, you can export system logs, assign license, some settings related to this host, move to, you can move objects between the hosts, like move a virtual machine from here to there. But I'll show you how virtual machines are moved, not through this, but folders you can move. Tags, remove from inventory. Inventory is just how many virtual machines you have, how many of what you have, folders you have, etc. Right? So that's, and permissions, alarms, we know already. vSAN, it's an upcoming feature. If your company cannot afford physical SAN, which is pretty expensive, so you can go for vSAN, which is it's a highly available storage on top of your local disks. So that's vSAN. So we're going to be talking about that later. But these are all the features of a hypervisor, right? What we were here for, we right-clicked on the hypervisor and we went for new virtual machine. So let's create that just to check the information. Okay, Mosab says in the chat what we should add for the username password for this is root username and password what you gave to the hypervisor. Awesome. So root username and password. Okay, so here here I'm going to go for new virtual machine, right? So I'm going to click new virtual machine. You can see that there are more options here. So when we created, or if I had shown you the new virtual machine creation only on the hypervisor, which was not connected to the vCenter, so the options were less. Now there are many more options for virtual machines. So let's just first create a virtual machine. And guys, one more thing, when we create a virtual machine, we're going to be creating empty virtual machines. We're not going to install operating systems inside, because we need to explore the features of the vCenter, and also we don't have enough RAM and CPU. Underlying RAM and CPU is not that much, right? So we're going to be creating lots of virtual machines without an OS, right? So we're going to be creating lots of virtual machines without an OS. But with or without an OS, all the features that we're going to explore, they're going to work fine with or without an OS. But with an OS, we're going to run out of RAM even sooner, and our environment will be even slower. But obviously in real environment, production environment, you will have virtual machines with operating systems inside, right? ONK. So for now, I'm going to create a virtual machine without an operating system. And we're going to explore all these features of the virtual machines. What is clone an existing virtual machine? What is template? What is template to template? What is template to virtual machine? So let's go for a new virtual machine first and click next. So it says that, okay, I'm creating a virtual machine in Canada folder inside Tor data center. And obviously there's only one hypervisor there. So let's just name that virtual machine your first name, VM01, your first name, VM01. We're going to create more and more virtual machines as well. So your first name, VM01, next. So here E6i02 is the hypervisor. That's the only hypervisor we have in this data center, right? So, and the good news always is here, compatibility, because here it shows warnings. Here it also shows errors, red ones. So if it is green, that's good news. Okay, let's click next. Now it says that, oh, I have data stores, which are LAN-based data stores, these three, and it has local disk-based data store as well, which is a no-go area. We are not using local disk-based data store, because if the hypervisor crashes, this data store will also be not available, right? While these will be still available because the LUNs are connected to, each LUN is connected to every hypervisor. Right? Okay, anyway, I need to create a virtual machine. So if I go to the diagram, what am I doing here? I'm basically creating a virtual machine, and I'm choosing that, do I need data store 1, data store 2, or data store 3? Yeah. So I'm going to go for whatever, because all data stores have the same size. I'm going to go for whichever is the top one, or for no particular reason, I'm selecting this. I could select this as well. This as well. They're all the same, right? So I'm going for WD1L3, and it says compatibility check succeeded. So we're good. Next. Okay, so it says compatible with what? And when we drop down, you can see all the previous versions of VMware, and that's a good knowledge source as well for you, because in the interview, suppose it's a job for cloud engineer, Azure cloud engineer, Azure AWS cloud engineer, administrator, right? So you and obviously majority of the companies have VMware also available. So if they ask that, hey, what are the previous versions, name any 2 or 3, so you should know that, you know, it started from, you say 3.5, then 4.0, then 5.0, 5.1, 5.5, 6.0, 6.5, 6.7, and then 7.0, and now 8.0. So those are all the versions. Better know them. You know, for the interview, you need to show yourself as very, very, very knowledgeable, right? So I'll put that screenshot in WhatsApp as well. All previous versions of VMware vCenter / hypervisor. So, you know, keep it somewhere before the interview. Just go through them, read them once. O and K. But suppose we're gonna obviously select the latest version here, or the latest we have. But if I go back, suppose I want to select, I select this 6.7. So why would I do that? So this is backward compatibility. Suppose if this is 6.7, yeah, okay. This is 6.7 version, right? And this is 7.0, what we have, right? Now, if you are creating, now we're creating a virtual machine, right? You're creating it on a 7.0 hypervisor, but you choose it to be 6.7 version VM. While you're actually on 7, you choose a previous version for compatibility. So compatibility just means that if you had to migrate a virtual machine back and forth between older hypervisor, suppose you have older hypervisor and you haven't upgraded that, and newer hypervisor you want to migrate between, so you will be able to do that. Suppose you create a virtual machine that is 7.0, so it might not be able to migrate. I mean, one version before or 2 versions before, it can migrate still, if you update it, if you put proper updates here. But otherwise, immediately previous version, it may be able to migrate, but 1 or 2 versions, 2 or 3 versions behind, it won't be able to migrate back and forth. You won't be able to use newer version virtual machine in an older hypervisor. Better upgrade that hypervisor as well, right? So that's just the compatibility thing. Excuse me. So yeah, I'm gonna stick to the newer version and click next. As I said, it's going to be an empty virtual machine. So I'm just going to go for some operating system, right? Suppose I select 2019. So what? If I select 2019, it's going to install the universal drivers of 2019. Right? So one other thing is that when you are on this page, you should notice this. VM version 18. Oh, okay. What is this VM version 18? If I go back and I choose 6.7, go next, suppose. So it says VM version 14. Oh, what is this? And 6.5. Version 13. Versions are changing. So what is this version? So version is, each version would have certain capacities. Excuse me. If I go back here, this one, suppose it's version 13, and this one, suppose it's version 14, this one, version 18. So it's version 18, right? So the only difference is, suppose it supports maximum 16 vCPUs. So next version would have more capacity. It would support 32 vCPUs, and suppose this would support 64 vCPUs, and it supports up to 2 terabyte RAM. Okay, that's okay. Suppose it supports 512 RAM, right? So it supports 2 terabyte RAM, and it supports 10 terabyte RAM. So it's all about capacity. So version 18, version 13, version 14, you have to actually Google the table, and before the interview, you should be knowledgeable about those versions. During the interview, you should be knowledgeable, but otherwise, after you are selected in the job, then nobody cares. But during the job, during the interview, you have to be like knowledgeable, like a master's degree or PhD. After that, then you learn with experience and learn on the job, because you can't know everything, right? Okay, so here, this is for the versioning. When I say versioning, that's not what Azure versioning, file versioning is, but this is VMware versions, mean just upgrade of capacities. Okay, so I'm gonna go back here and 7.0 next, and it says version 18, right? So obviously, 18 VMware 18 would be having some other version 20 maybe. Okay, so anyway, next, and some operating system I have put here, because I'm not actually going to install operating system. It's going to be an empty machine, because we're going to be exploring features of vCenter, underlying hypervisor and vCenter, right? So I'm going to click next here, and now it shows you what kind of CPU you want to give this virtual machine, memory you want to give this virtual machine. So underlying hypervisor, what have we given to underlying hypervisor anyway? If I go there, I think we have given 8 GB. Yeah, we have given 8 GB. This E6i 14 GB, this is good, but the practice machines we have given 8 GB RAM, right? So when we are creating virtual machines and we're going to start them, so we need to give very less RAM to them, because there's no operating system inside. So I'm going to go down to 1 vCPU here, and just 1 GB RAM, right? 1 GB RAM, 1 vCPU. And all the future virtual machines I'm going to give the same, because when we start them, they should not just take over the whole RAM that we have. We already have very less RAM, right? Okay. One more thing when we are creating virtual machine is this, that when you go to new hard disk, so it says 40 GB, but it's going for thick provisioning. So we don't want thick provisioning. And there are types: thick provision lazy zeroed, and there's thick provision eager zeroed, and there's thin provision. So what are those? We're going to talk about that. But for choosing, we will always go for thin provision. In fact, thick and thin provision we may have talked about before as well. But here in the diagram, So thick provision, obviously, what we may have talked before is that on the disk space, whenever you're creating a virtual machine, and in the wizard you say that 40 GB disk space I need. So that 40 GB on the physical, this is the file disk, right? Physical disk. This is the virtual disk space, V disk we're giving. So if whatever space we put here, if it is thick provision, so it will just occupy that. Suppose this is 100 GB, right? This space. So 40 GB it will fully occupy, and it will not let any other application use that. But if it is thin provision, so if it is thin provision, right? So and if there's a disk that is 100 GB, and that's the physical size of the disk, 100 GB, while you assign 40 GB as the virtual disk size, vdisk, right? 40 GB, right? So it's not gonna occupy 40 GB right away. So whatever software you're installing, it's just going to, and whatever space that software takes, that much space it's going to occupy. Suppose you're installing here Windows, so it's going to take, and Windows take like 12 GB, right? So although you have defined here that my disk will be 40 GB, it's not going to occupy 40 GB right away. It's going to occupy whatever application or OS you're installing. So in our case, if it is Windows and 12 GB, so it's going to just occupy that 12 GB, it's going to format that, and it's going to just occupy that. It's going to go up to 40 GB, up to. When it reaches that, suppose you install MS Office, then install Visual Studio, then you install AutoCAD, and whatever application, Photoshop you're installing, when it reaches 40 GB, then it says, okay, disk full. So in thick provision, it just occupies 40 GB right away, whether you install Windows, and that takes only 12 GB there, right? But that 12 GB is being used only, while the rest it has occupied still. Thick provision, it just takes the whole space there. While here, thin provision, it just grows with whatever you're installing, and the rest of the space is still available for any other application. But thick provision is fast, and thin provision is slow, right? So and thick provision, there is also eager zeroed and lazy zeroed. So lazy and eager. So this is all about, when you say zeroed, it's written there, zeroed, right? So zeroed means formatting. So you want to zero, so lazily or slowly you want to format the, you have occupied, in thick provision you have occupied 40 GB right away, but you want to slowly format and use the disk, or you want to eagerly format and use the disk. So in terms of eager, it will just format the whole disk, and you can install the software, and those files will be spread across this area. And lazy zeroed, it's just gonna format slowly here, but it has occupied all the space, not left for any other application or any other virtual machine, but it's gonna still slowly format and make the area usable according to what you install. So there are different use cases for that. Lazy zeroed for any application that creates lesser files, but eager zeroed is for like SQL servers, which creates a lot of log files, and very frequently the files are writing and being, writing and being saved and retrieved. So all that, right? So this is, the difference between lazy zeroed, so thin provisioning and thick provisioning. So whenever we are creating a disk, we don't want to occupy all the space. So because this is a test environment, right? So we're going to just select thin provision here whenever we are creating a virtual machine there. So the rest of the options are just, typical disk provisioning, sharing, shares. We're going to be talking about that in resource pools now. Limit IOPS, input output per second, disk mode, and virtual device node. So all those SCSI. So these are related to SCSI devices, depends on the physical hardware, underlying physical hardware that we have, and that's how it's going to perform. If you know what is the underlying hardware, you can select those type of disks here in virtual environment as well. And in networking, virtual network card, you see this port group here. So if I go to the diagram, so this virtual machine is through the network card, it is connected to the standard switch. And standard switch, I have mentioned that before, and we're going to be talking in detail when we go to the networking topic, but there is a port group here, port group. So virtual machines connect to the port group that is connected to the virtual switch. That is part of the virtual switch, right? So virtual machines only see a port group. It does not see a switch. Virtual machine does not see a physical network card. Virtual machine only sees a port group, which is part of the switch. So here, there is that network card, and it's just seeing a port group here, right? And the port group name is VM network. This port group is part of this virtual standard switch inside the hypervisor, right? Okay, so yeah, all the other configurations are default. CD/DVD, you can, if you have uploaded ISO of Windows 11, Windows 2019, 2012, whatever, 2016, if you have uploaded the ISO on the data store, then you can grab that ISO and attach it to the drive. Yeah.
Sir?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why I don't have the options of those selections.
Oh.
Same here. Same here, actually. I don't have this. Yeah, I don't see disk provisioning at all.
Disk provisioning. So are you on?
I mean above the virtual device and or yeah, here don't have those selections.
Are you on virtual hardware or are you on VM options?
Virtual hardware. The same page, but didn't have those options.
Oh, okay.
From
so
the.
Did you expand the new hard disk? You have to click this.
Oh, yeah. I didn't click this part. Okay.
Yeah,
thank you.
So I had expanded that, so that's why I was seeing that. So I'm gonna collapse that now. Okay, so these are all typical options. What I was explaining here, that on the data store, if you have put any ISO. So if I go to the diagram here, so that's the data store, right? So we can create folders of our own on the data store, any of the data store, and we can put here ISO or template of the virtual machine or Windows or Linux ISOs. Suppose you want to install inside the virtual machine a Windows operating system or Linux operating system. So virtual machine can see data store, and inside the data store you create a folder, suppose, and you install ISO. So virtual machine CD/DVD can connect to that folder that is available on top of a data store, because virtual machine sees a data store, right? Okay, so if I go back here, so that's that option. And yeah, the USB 2.0 SATA controller, additional hardware. If I go way down and expand that, so there are PCI controller, IDE. This is pretty old, slow disk controller, PS2 controllers, SIO. Suppose you have a bit older hardware. This is actually too old. And input devices, keyboard pointing. So these are all typical virtual machine. If you go to VM options here, there's general options. If I expand that, so there's VM name, guest OS, all and VMware remote console options, and there's guest OS lock, maximum number of sessions, encryption, power management, VM tools, boot options. You want to boot to the BIOS, you can select from here to change boot options, right? And all others. Fiber channel, if you have, basic fiber cable, fiber optics connectivity between the physical servers, then this option would use that speed as well. Okay, so that's a virtual machine with lots and lots of options, and these options come, more options come when you create a virtual machine from a vCenter, right? So I'm gonna click next and finito, and it's gonna create a virtual machine here. But we wanted to explore actually the virtual machine creation options and what features are there, and what are the new terminologies we get to see there, right? Okay, so there's a time for a break here if you want the break. If you do not want the break, we continue. Up to you. Actually, there's supposed to be a break, or to break or not to break. That's the question, right? So break or no break? Yes, break or no break?
Break.
Ah, so you're saying to me, hey, teach, give me a break. Oh, okay. Anyway, yeah, no problemo. So let's take a break and come back.
Teacher, sorry, can I go back quickly? Like,
Sure.
I'm trying to set up the host. So the lockdown mode, what should I choose?
Yeah, it's normal.
Normal. Okay, thank you. It will be the same
For
configuration. Okay, thank you.
For the virtualization, base security is disabled.
Virtualization where?
Think in the select a guest OS.
Oh, guest OS when you're creating a virtual machine?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, so default option for that.
Default is
You don't need to change
okay.
it. Yeah. Okay, let's take a break. And we come back. So I hope you're able to hear me. Anyone able to hear me? Yes, no, maybe, maybe not.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so here, let me just record more stuff here, so you could then have that recording available all the time. Okay, so we were talking about creating a virtual machine that was created on this hypervisor. Then there's your first name, VM01, virtual machine. Now this is how it looks like. Suppose there were 10 or 20 or 30 virtual machines, so they would all just line up under the hypervisor here. And that's one thing about the virtual machine. Now let's just create another virtual machine here, because for the next lab we're going to talk about resource pools, then we're going to talk about VApp and more features. So before that, for that we need to create, in fact we're going to be creating more virtual machines. I'm going to right click here, and we're going to talk about the new virtual machine wizard. And when we click that new virtual machine wizard, you see that deploy from. So first we did that, and it was a pretty straightforward stuff, that how to create a new virtual machine. But then there is a deploy from template. Then there is clone an existing virtual machine, clone virtual machine to template, clone template to template, convert template to virtual machine. So what are all those options? First one, we know that how to create a new virtual machine, but what is deploy from template, and what is a template? So if you click that, so there's this option guides you through the process of creating a virtual machine from a template. So what is a template? A template is a golden image of a virtual machine that lets you easily create ready for use virtual machines. Oh, okay. you must have a template to proceed with this option. So, but what is this template? So, ready for use virtual machine. Now, the logic behind that is, and what's the use case behind that? I'm just gonna open another diagram here and open here, expand that. So, template would be okay. Template is a ready-made machine. So what does that mean? Now, suppose you have you get requests every day that, okay, from sales department, they're saying that please create 5 virtual machines for us. Thank you very much. So in those 5 VMs, you should have OS obviously, and applications in whatever OS they mentioned. Suppose it's the server side OS, suppose it's server 2022, Windows Server 2022, right? And for applications, there is MS Office, and actually on server side, normally we don't put that. Maybe some server application we put that. So there is Visual Studio. Suppose programmers will be connecting to that. Visual. Okay, let me just quickly write that. Visual Studio. Now that is and many other software, right? Like WinZip, antivirus, 7-Zip, many other applications. Now there's a list of applications here. So 5 VMs. Then marketing department next day says that, okay, we need 3 VMs for our virtual for our environment, and certain other departments also required. Now you need to create those virtual machines. What do? You just go for create virtual machine wizard. You install an OS inside, and then you install applications. Then you also make them, so you put the OS updates, right? And all updates, and security hardening, that is very, very important. Security hardening is the process of making sure that operating system, virtual machine, and application, they're all having the best state-of-the-art security features, hardening, right? Security features there, so it could not be hacked, right? So you have to do all that for all virtual machines, and that's going to take time. So installing OS, maybe 40 minutes and or 30 minutes, and apps, all the applications, and then restart whatever the application requires, updates that require a restart as well, and then security hardening. No, we don't know how many restarts are required here. So all that, maybe one virtual machine, like what, 4 hours, 4 hours, right, per virtual machine. And then you can count for 5 virtual machines and for 3 virtual machines here as well. So that's a lot of time. So how about you create a virtual machine first, install an OS, and put all the updates, latest updates in that OS, then install applications, put all and configure properly, configure and update the applications, right? Configure and update. And also security harden everything. And once you have done all that, you need to convert this guy into a template. Oh, what is that? So template, the sole purpose of a template or golden image is to make hundreds or thousands of clones or exact copy of that machine. So suppose you make a copy of that machine with everything installed inside. As soon as, so the copy gets created in, or a clone or a copy gets created in 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Copy paste happens. Maybe the system on which the clone is being created is pretty fast, and hardware is state of the art. So each clone taking maximum maybe 10 to 15 minutes, right? So in 10 to 15 minutes or even less, another virtual machine copy got created, and when you start it, it has all the operating system is already installed, it's already updated, all applications are already installed, and they're all updated as well and fully configured, and it's an exact copy. You just rename the machine, new IP, you give new IP, and that's it. It has already, so you didn't have to install the whole operating system and wait for it and update and restarts application. So you just make a clone of it or exact copy of this already configured properly virtual machine, and just give it a new name and IP. So how do you create a template? You install an OS, as I said, you install applications inside. Then what you do, you just run this utility called sysprep. Some of you may know that already. What is sys? So sysprep, then and then you shut down this OS kind of forever. So shut down. Once it is shut down, it is ready to be cloned. Now you need 5 virtual machines for sales department. You need 3 virtual machines for uh, marketing department. So that's 8 total virtual machines that could have taken your many hours. Instead, it would take like 10 to 15 minutes per VM. That's it. Like 1.5 hour, 8 VMs are already ready with complete OS, fully updated OS, all the applications already installed, because you're making exact copy of that, right? You're not installing one by one anything. So that's golden image. Sysprep utility does one more thing, and so it gives a unique SID, right? So it gives a unique SID, and that SID is security identifier, right? And that security identifier has to be not similar. Suppose there are 5 virtual machines on the network. When they come on the network, each should have an SID that is separate from the other. If 2 virtual machines have the same SID or security identifier, which is just a alphanumeric A3F B268, it's a long alphanumeric address, which is unique to each virtual machine, right? And if so, sysprep utility provides each virtual machine a unique SID, and because of that, if the SID is similar between 2 virtual machines, they cannot come on the network or they cannot properly work on the network. While if they are, they have to be separate, different SIDs. So the whole process of creating a template or golden image is to install our OS and app properly, configure it properly, and then shut it down with sysprep, and after that start creating clones of that. Maybe in 6 months you have created 100 clones, 200 clones of it, 200 virtual machines, right? Suppose it's a very big company. So now it's been 6 months, suppose. So you have to update this machine as well, because after every month there are updates, right? So if it's been 6 months, so this clone, this template is actually 6 month old. This means that it has 6 month old updates, all the new updates. So when you create a clone, you then have to update that clone with new updates of the operating system, new updates of the applications, right? So you can actually start this machine, install all the updates, and then run sysprep and shut it down again and start creating clone. Now this time it would have been updated with all the 6 month updates, and it would be having latest updates, and you can start creating clones again. So you can maintain that template VM as well, right? That said, so first of all, we know that, okay, so template or golden image is that you configure properly a virtual machine and shut it down, and only purpose of that is to create clones or exact copy of those machines. And once the copies are created, then you just rename and give new IP, and everything is pre-installed inside. You really save huge amount of time, right? So that's the purpose of template or golden image. But when we go to the features here or terminology here, deploy from template. So first of all, where is template? If you have a template, then deploy from template means create an exact copy or clone from a template, right? But we don't have a template yet, right? So clone an existing virtual machine. So this option says clone an existing virtual machine. Now this is not a template, but if you have, suppose, a working virtual machine and you just want to take a backup of that virtual machine, suppose it has OS and apps, but it has very important or sensitive data inside. So you can then create an exact clone or copy of that and save it in a USB drive, right? Save it in the cloud. So you just want to create a clone or copy of a virtual machine just to save it somewhere else. Then you can do that with clone an existing virtual machine. Clone virtual machine to template. Now this is that option which creates a template, right? And what I was saying before, that you worked on that machine, you installed everything, you shut it down with sysprep. Shutting down with sysprep, the benefit of that is very crucial, that when you create a clone, suppose there are 10 clones, each clone will have a unique SID, and that's very important for every clone to have, so they could start in the network and there will be no conflicts, right? So clone virtual machine to template means first you create a virtual machine with all the perfect settings, then so clone to a template means it will create another virtual machine that will be VMware template format. So that option, so this means that the virtual machine that you created perfectly, this option, clone virtual machine to template, will create a template out of this. And that template is a VMware virtual machine template. And out of that, you can create as many copies of that with all the pre-installed OS and applications here, right? So, so clone virtual machine to template just means that this machine will be here, but there will be another virtual machine, and that would be actually a template. And you can use it as a template. So we're going to do that. We're going to pretend that this virtual machine that we just created now, which is an empty virtual machine, we pretend that we installed operating system inside. We pretend that we have already applications inside, and we shut it down with sysprep, right? Now we start this wizard and we select this option, clone virtual machine to template, right? And then it will ask that, okay, which virtual machine you want to select, whose template we will create, right? Out of that machine, we will create a template. So I select that and then click next. And then it says, okay, you need to choose a virtual machine now. Tell me which virtual machine. So suppose this is that virtual machine which we have perfectly configured, updated, and checked every software, opened and closed it. And we now know that operating system is in perfect condition, perfectly configured, all updates are latest, and all applications are configured perfectly and they're running fine. And you have shut it down with sysprep. Now, this is that machine that has been shut down with sysprep. We select that and click, next. So now it says, oh, you want to create a template out of this machine? We say, yeah. So, okay, you want to name it? We say, yeah. So your first name, template one, however you want to name it. So your first name, template 01, right? So where do you want to save this template? And I say, yeah, in the same TorDC data center. And I click next. Then it says, oh, which hypervisor in TorDC? Well, we have just one hypervisor or one host only. So we're going to save it there. And it says, yep, everything seems good. Next. And yeah, which storage, LAN-based storage you want to use. They're all the same, but for no particular reason, I'm going to select the second one here. And it says, yep, all good here in terms of configurations and compatibility. So we're good. And click next. So we're going to put that template here in data store, which is data store 2, right? And this is a summary that, okay, I'm going to create a template out of that virtual machine that you selected in this wizard. So I'm going to click finito. So once I click finito, and I'm on recent tasks and I'm keeping an eye here, and it was pretty quick to create a template, right? Why it was quick? Normally it takes time because the virtual machine was empty. Otherwise, when you install operating system, 10 GB, 12 GB is there. When you install software, it's extra 10, 20 GB there. So a machine becomes like 20, 30 GB size. Virtual disk becomes, and when you create a template out of that, so obviously another copy of 20 GB machine would take time. But this didn't take time because it was empty. Okay, so I want to go to the template and check it out. So where is the template? Hey, this machine was already there, right? So where's the template? Anyone knows where's the template? Because it says completed successfully. So where do I go to see the template? I am here and I don't see the template. So any guesses, wild guesses? Exactly, you're right. Actually, nobody said anything. Oh, yeah. We go here. What is here? VMs and templates. This is this section. So we click that and Canada, TODC, and there's a template, right? So this template here is going to be, it has all that, pre-installed OS and applications we are pretending, right? So what are the features this template is offering? If first of all, templates cannot be started. That's the rule of thumb. Remember, templates. So if I right click here on the template and I want to start it, right? Hey, where's the power button? There's no power button because it's a template. You cannot start a template. So if I go to a normal virtual machine and right click, there's the power button, right? Power on, blah, blah, blah. But if you go to template, right click that, we don't see that, right? So template, first thing, you cannot start it. Why? And it makes sense. It is performing a very crucial task of creating clones. So it must not be messed up. Anyone by mistake starts it, maybe think of it as a regular machine and start doing something and misconfigures the whole configuration and then shuts down. Next day somebody else comes and start a clone of that, and that clone is also misconfigured. So that's why templates are you can't start the template, right? But then if I want to update it, how do I do that? If I want to remember that the scenario that it's been 6 months and we've been cloning that, but now the clones need to have extra updates because this template is old. So you want to update the template. How do you do that? So there are options for that too. If I right click here, so it says convert to virtual machine. So that's a very good option that, hey, you want to update the template with latest updates? Then, because you cannot start it, first you have to convert it to a virtual machine. Remember, when we were creating a template, it created a clone of a virtual machine. So it created another copy of this machine and converted into a template, right? But when this very template needs to be updated, so it will be converted. This very machine will be converted into this very template will be converted into a VM. So once it is converted, there is no template remaining here. When this virtual machine was being created as a template, so this machine still exists after the template is created, and the separate other machine is the template. But this very machine converts into a VM from a template. So then you can start, you can update, and then once you have updated with latest updates, you want to have this machine again as a template. So it's gonna clone to a template. So remember always that when you want to create a template, it will create a separate copy of the machine and make it a template again. But when you want to convert a template to a VM, that very template becomes a VM. It doesn't create another separate copy of that and consider it as a VM. So that very template can be converted into a VM. So that's just the difference. Yeah, Irene.
So when the template, when it's already been converted to virtual machine, would that be dependent or independent with the with where you clone from?
It's totally independent. Yes.
Okay. So which
Totally.
means if there are changes that you need to do with the cloned virtual machine, it doesn't affect the machine that you clone from.
Exactly. It does not affect that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, this is a process, guys. You will be asked in the interview as well. If they want to go, suppose you're going for level 3 administrator, level 4, level 5, or even level 2 desktop support and administrator. So virtual machines related stuff you will be facing, and some of the questions might come in the interview as well. But yeah, so it will be an independent machine that you can fully update with new updates, and then again when you want to convert your template, so it will create another copy of that and convert that copy into template, and you can start cloning that template again. So it's a cycle between that, and it's up to you how often you want to convert, how often you want to update a template. Better update every month, but if that's too much, maybe after 2 months, just put, because whatever clones you're creating, if it's an old template, then you then still put extra time to update that clone, right? So instead, just update this once and start creating clones again, and lesser updates will be there if it's 5-day old or 10-day old or 20-day old, right? Yeah. Question? Who's first? Nuruddin. Yeah.
Yes. What is the best practice? Is it first create templates in the at the first step, then create the virtual machine?
So in order to create a template, you have to have first a fully configured virtual machine. So that's always the first step. Then you convert it into a template. That's always the second step. But how often you want to update that template depends on how much hard work you want to give. So many administrators go for every month, and in big companies there are multiple administrators, so they can just divide the task and hey, update the template again, because we're creating clones and we have to update all the clones separately. So maximum 2 to 3 months, they don't go more than that to update the template regularly. So that's second step. Then third step is convert this very template into a virtual machine, update it with latest updates in maybe 3 months. And then fourth step is again, so this is a virtual machine, then update it, and then again create a template out of that, which will be a separate machine, which is the fourth step. And that machine will be actually a template. So yeah, first you have to have a virtual machine with fully configured OS and app. Yeah. Okay, Irene.
And what is the purpose of creating these clones, or the
So
where we can use these clones?
So this, when you create a clone, so as the use case was that sales department asked for 5 virtual machines, and they wanted to put their own sales applications on top of that, and then run the business. So they need those virtual machines, but we need to create them. You or as a IT admin or VMware administrator have to create those machines very fast. So you will create 5 clones out of the template, which is the demand of sales department, and then just customize those clones, rename them sales 01 VM, sales 02 VM, sales 03 VM, 4, And if they required some extra 1 or 2 applications that were not part of the template already, so you would install those extra 2 or 3 applications, which will take very less time. But you would have had already all the required basic company and software and OS updated OS and applications there. So you save creating 5 VMs, you save many hours, 7 or 8 hours. You create that in 20 minutes max. You create all clones, and then any customization for sales department you do and give it to them. So by half an hour or maximum 45 minutes, you're done with 5 VMs and you hand over to the sales department instead of completing the whole job in 8 or 9 hours or 2 days, given that there are other tasks. So yeah, those clones are handed over to whoever requested, sales department, marketing department, and they would request virtual machines with all the standard management approved OS and applications. So clones are used for clients. Okay. Now,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Now here, so we talked about this. If I go back here, we have created a template, right? So with template, basically we first create a clone. So new VM from this template. Yes, that's what we can do. So I'm gonna go through the wizard to show if there are any new terminology, new features, any best practices. So I'm creating a clone from a template, which is supposed to be a regular virtual machine. Now we know that our template is created from an empty virtual machine. So obviously the clone or new VM that we will create from here would also be just an empty virtual machine, right? So this is another virtual machine that we are trying to create. So I can just name it at your first name VM02 or whatever name you want to give. And where do you want to create? Yes, it's store DC as well. And next, so this is a virtual machine or clone getting created from a template VM, and where on which host, which hypervisor you want to create. So yep, it is selected and it's compatible, which is good news. Next, and then which data store. Obviously, you as a VMware administrator need to always keep an eye on how much space is left on each data store, and if there are unused, unnecessary virtual machines there, so keep deleting that. So cleaning up is a very crucial thing. Storage runs out real fast. I'm just going to go for data store 2, which is LAN-based data store, but 3 or 1, they're also particularly pretty much the same. Anyone you can select. So all good here. Compatibility. Next. So now when you're creating a VM out of a template, so it says that, hey, you want to customize that because this is a general image with OS and some general software. It's not really customized for sales department. Suppose says, oh, I want this also installed other than the regular applications. So you want to customize the operating system. So if you select that, and then there is, as soon as you select customize, so if I uncheck, it's 4, it should be 6, 5, right? But when I select that, so there's extra option that comes, customize guest OS, and customize this virtual machine's hardware. Suppose the sales department says, okay, we need actually 8 vCPUs, and suppose your template has 4 vCPUs, and they say we need 64 GB RAM while your template has 32 GB RAM. So whatever hardware, and we need 4 network cards, and your template has 2 network cards, suppose. So you can actually make changes to the virtual hardware of the virtual machine. And then you want to power on the virtual machine once it's done creating. So yes, you can do that too. But what is this? Customize the operating system and then customize this virtual hardware. So we have selected that. I'm going to click next. Now, the problem with this, our setup, is that there's that override button that is not selected, I think, because it is an empty machine. But what it basically offers is that, hey, you want to rename this clone to something. So you create that, suppose it's sales 01, you name. Then, oh, you have a key for the operating system that you have inside. For example, here is 2012. So you have the key for that, the license key. So you can put it here as well if you want. you want, how many disks you want, and what other customizations of operating system you want. All that customizations can be done here, but that button somehow is not working. But basically, I've given you an example of what kind of customizations, and it's a pretty long wizard also, that you can just put that name, IP, you want to go from DHCP, or you want to put your static IP. So all kinds of operating system customizations it offers in the long wizard. Other than that, so if I click next, okay, then the virtual hardware that we selected, if you want to change the hardware from the template general hardware that we had, then you can do that. Otherwise, you don't have to select the virtual hardware. You can just, next, finish. So suppose we didn't change the hardware, but I wanted to show you that this is that same screen which we talked about before, and you added CPUs and memory for just the customization of this virtual machine, and then click next, and it will say that, okay, so from the template, whatever was in the template, it's already there, but this is what you selected extra other than that. So is that virtual machine okay for you? And you say, yeah, okay, and finish. Now this I'm doing click, click, click in a graphical user interface, but there's Power CLI, command line interface. Through command line, you can also automate the whole process, and you could have complicated scripts. It's all over Google and ChatGPT. You can create all the scripts from there as well. But so there's another. So what we did was we created a virtual machine from a template, right? I'm still on the template, and this is pretty straightforward process, right? But remember, then there is that convert to virtual machine. So this would be that process. So before that, clone to template. It's already a template. Why would you want to clone it to a template? So this is, if suppose in Toronto branch, you worked really hard and you created a virtual machine, then you create a template out of that. Now the administrator in New York, he says that, hey, can I have that template? Or if you want to just create a copy of that template, so you can then clone to a template, which will be copying an exact template format again, carefully, without misconfiguring anything. So it will be a copy of that template that you can save it somewhere or give it to whoever needs it, right? So that's just clone to template, which is already a template, right? Then there is convert to virtual machine. This is that option which we were talking about in this diagram, that it's time to update the template itself. So what do you do to convert this template into a VM? So this is that option, convert to virtual machine. So this template, and remember, when I right click this template, you don't see a power button here, right? And remember that this is the name, my first name dash template, right? So once I convert it, and you can see that its icon is different. This is this white icon, but there are boxes here. This is a virtual machine, and this is a template, right? So when I convert, its icon should change to this, and when we right click, it should have a power button as well, if it converts to a virtual machine directly, right? So I'm going to right click here. Suppose we need to update this template, and it's been 2 months or 3 months, and whatever the company policy we are following. So convert to virtual machine, I'm going to click that option. It says, okay, where do you want this conversion to happen? We know that this very template will become virtual machine. It's not going to create an extra one, right? So next, and this is pretty straightforward wizard here, because this very machine is going to be template will be converted into a machine. So as soon as I do that, it's not that quick as it is right now. We know that it is quick because we haven't installed an operating system inside. Otherwise, it would take, I mean, you would really have to wait for the whole 20 GB virtual machine to be converted back. But yeah, and clone of a 20 GB template, it would take time as well, right? But you can see now that the template has become a virtual machine. So its icon has changed exactly like the virtual machine icons. And if you right click now, it has a power button, right? So now it's a virtual machine. You power it on, you install latest updates, check all the software 3 months ago that you configured, you update them as well, or upgrade the software applications. And then now it's the latest, everything is latest inside. Then you again simply run which wizard? That wizard that we ran before. So it would be, if I go to host and clusters here, this section, and then go on the hypervisor level. Suppose I want to convert it back to template, right? Because I updated it. So what do? I go to the hypervisor, I go to the new virtual machine, and then clone virtual machine template. And then I choose that machine again. Now it's gonna create another machine and convert it into a template. And that machine will still stay here as a separate machine. Then you can just dispose it off or use it something else. But it will create another machine out of that, which will be a template, right? So that's the whole cycle of how you can maintain templates and virtual machines and create clones out of that. If I go right click here, yeah. Irene.
And these are all independent with the other clones when you clone it from a template.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
It will be independent always. Okay. Okay, so here, if I right click here, so it will be new virtual machine, and we know how to create a new virtual machine. Then deploy from template. That was that same option, that create a new VM from a template, or deploy from template. If there is a template, it's just gonna select that. It's gonna ask that, we're gonna select that, and then it's gonna create a virtual machine out of that. The rest of the wizard is exactly the same from here that we saw there when we selected a right click a template, and then we selected create new virtual machine out of template. So deploy from template is the same option. Clone an existing virtual machine. This is just a copy of any virtual machine. And another thing is, when you clone a virtual machine, like when you create a copy of a working virtual machine in this environment, that clone should not be started in the same environment, obviously, because that clone will have same name and same IP as the working virtual machine, right? Whose clone you have created. So you have to keep it shut down, or start it in a separate segment, or connected to another standard switch which is not connected to this. So separate it in another network, start it, rename it, change the IP, and then restart it, and then you can introduce it in the same network. But when you create an exact copy, it has same name, same IP, so it will create name and IP conflict. So you cannot start that machine in the same network. Not recommended. Clone virtual machine to template, we did that. Clone template to template, this is the same option. If you have a template, you want to create another template copy, you can use that option. Convert template to a virtual machine, this is that same option that we right click the template and then converted the very template to the virtual machine for updating it, right? So all these options we have explored and check the reason for that too. Other than that, now we have enough virtual machines as well. So there's another option, if on the hypervisor level, not on the data center level. In fact, if I click on the data center level, do you see resource pool here? Nope. So it's on the hypervisor level. So on the hypervisor level, if you go to right click here, so there is that new resource pool. So what is the resource pool? If I click on it, so it shows this screen, but what is a resource pool? So use case for that is, whoa, what a mess. Okay, if I go to this, whoa, what a mess. Well, I think this would still work. If I control Z, oh man. Okay, so here, the use case for that would be. Okay, so here, suppose you have a virtual machine here, and that virtual machine is very important. It's a critical asset or important asset of the company. the company cannot afford to have this machine shut down or restart it for anything. Suppose it's doing Bitcoin mining, or suppose it's doing some kind of trading that is real time. And if this machine goes down, the trade stops and the company actually incur or starts incurring losses, right, per hour. So they cannot afford to have this machine slow down even, right? And you would have multiple copies of that or high availability of that machine also configured. But what is resource pool? Resource pool is that you reserve CPU, and so the most sought after, fought after assets or resources are CPU. In a virtualization world, it's CPU and RAM. Machines during peak hours fight for more CPU, more RAM, right? So resource pool actually makes sure that whatever you want to reserve for a specific virtual machine, whatever amount of CPU, whatever amount of RAM you are reserving for a virtual machine, a critical virtual machine, it that machine will get that amount of RAM. And whichever RAM got the reservation, so other virtual machines obviously will have lesser RAM, and hypervisors feature, or vCenters feature resource pool. Resource pool will make sure that this very important machine will always get whatever CPU and RAM we configure in the resource pool. It will always first make sure it gets that CPU and RAM, and then whatever is left is divided to the rest of the virtual machine. So resource pool is all about reservation of CPU and RAM for important virtual machines, right? So if I go back here, there's a resource pool. So first you have to give a name for the resource pool. Suppose this resource pool is going to be about sales department. You can just name anything here. Sales department virtual machines, right? Now there is CPU. If I collapse that, and memory. So you just see two options. These are the most important, obviously, for the virtual machines. And because disk capacity is normally a lot and it's cheaper, but CPU and RAM, that's more scarce when during peak times when all virtual machines are really busy, so they fight for CPU and RAM, right? Now, CPU, there's shares, there's reservation, there's reservation type, there's limit, memory, shares, reservation type, limit, right? So shares means priority. Shares means priority, right? So if we go for this resource pool called sales department 1, and we say high here, right, for CPU. Now, suppose you have another resource pool in a big company, or multiple resource pools, sales department 2, marketing department 1, and administration department 1. So they all departments have the resource pool, but this resource pool, its shares are high. And the sales department 1, so suppose you have another resource pool called sales department 2, suppose, right? And you put its share as normal. So among two resource pools, whichever's shares are higher, first its CPU and memory needs will be fulfilled. And whichever resource pool's shares are normal, then whatever next resource pool is requiring in terms of CPU and RAM, then that will be prioritized. So shares means priority, right? Then there is reservation, and then there is limit and reservation type. So reservation is minimum, limit is maximum, right? So reservation is what minimum CPU you want to give to the virtual machines that are connected to this resource pool. So suppose I go, so now we have, very limited CPU and RAM here, but as an example, out of 2238 megahertz, so we say that, hey, this set of virtual machines which are connected to this resource pool must get suppose 1024 megahertz, minimum this much CPU must be given to the virtual machine or virtual machines that are attached to this resource pool. So reservation means minimum. Then I'm going to come to the reservation type, but then limit, which is maximum. So if it's a critical set of virtual machines or virtual machine, so you can keep it unlimited, which means that minimum this much CPU you give, but whatever maximum CPU needs out of what you have, just give it. Or you can put a cap on it that, okay, 2084. Suppose you want to put a cap on that, hey, this machine should not be asking for. So maximum you want to put that, if you want that, okay, this machine should not be asking more CPU than what I defined here. Minimum, please, at any time, the virtual machines of this resource pool should have this much CPU, but maximum, either you put a limit or you go for unlimited, which means whatever it asks from whatever you have, right? So, but if you put a cap on this, right? Suppose what I put there, 2084, and you put a cap on that. So when it reaches that and still it needs more CPU, so obviously if there are users who are working and it needs more CPU and you put a cap here and it's a critical machine, so it's your judgment, because then you will be causing disruption to the most critical virtual machine, most important virtual machine of your company. So it's your judgment. You want to put a cap on the most critical virtual machine, or you want to keep it unlimited, because there's a reason that it's called critical, and it's earning, suppose it's earning the company millions of dollars, right? So maybe you would want to keep it unlimited. Now this is minimum, this is maximum. Reservation is minimum, limit is maximum. So reservation type means that it is, if expendable is unchecked, this means whatever RAM was given to you, you cannot ask for more than that. So this means that maybe you actually put a cap there, right? 2084. Suppose this was the cap, that if CPU reaches here, don't give more CPU to this set of virtual machines connected to the resource pool. Suppose you put that. Now, if you put expandable as unchecked, it will get what you defined here. It cannot ask for more. But if you select that, now whatever you put here, when it reaches that, if it needs more, because this is selected, whatever it needs, more CPU, hypervisor, resource pool has to arrange that. So expandable means, yeah, I put a cap here, but if it needs more, give it. Uncheck means no, whatever I gave, that's it. Don't give it more, even if it asks more, right? So that's the difference of check mark, right? So this is the same story for memory as well. The shares for that, high or normal, and this is priority. Reservation is minimum. Reservation type is ask for more if it's checked, cannot ask for more if it is unchecked, and maximum, whatever cap you want to put on RAM as well. So it's the same story for the RAM or memory as well, right? So that's reservation for CPU and RAM that resource pool offers. I'm going to go ahead and press OK here to create a resource pool. So that's how it looks like, right? And how to assign virtual machines to a resource pool. So there's a drag and drop option here. It used to have, if I right click here, it used to have the move option that would move the virtual machine, and then it would used to ask, where do you want to move? And then I would just go for folder, data center, hypervisor, and then resource pool. Now I don't know why they remove that option, or maybe next version upgrades may have that option again. But if you want to move this virtual machine to the sales department, so there's a drag and drop, or any virtual machine. So if I go for VM01 and drag, it goes green, right? If I'm here, it's red. If I go here, it's green. This means I can drop it here. It could be part of this. So I just drop it here and it's part, this machine is part of the resource pool. So if I expand, now this machine is part of the resource pool skills department. And if I collapse, it's gone, right? So yeah, suppose I want to have another machine part of it, it's just drag and drop. And this is also part of it. Expand, two machines are showing, collapse, right? So if I right click the sales, if the resource pool here, you can directly create a virtual machine inside the resource pool. You can create a resource pool inside a resource pool. So suppose the hardware is massive, like 2 terabyte RAM or 5 terabyte RAM of a physical server and 32 core processor, 3.5 gigahertz, right? It's huge. So you have so much CPU and RAM that you create resource pool and you put set of virtual machines for sales department. Then you create a child resource pool, right? So child resource pool provides CPU and RAM, a reserved one. When it runs out of it, it requests a parent resource pool. Hey, do you have some more CPU and RAM? And it parent resource pool provides that. And when it runs out of it, it can ask the hypervisor, hey, do you have more CPU and RAM? Because I need that too. So you can create child resource pools inside this resource pool as well, right? Then there is you can create a new VApp. VApp is just grouping of virtual machines together to start, restart, or shut down the virtual machines together. So that's just grouping for maintenance. So, and then OVF obviously is import export of the virtual machine, but basically you can create a child resource pool of the parent resource pool, and resource pools are used for just creating for reservation of CPU and RAM for important virtual machines, right? If you want to take out the virtual machine from here, so it's a drag and drop again. So if I drag it out and I drop it on the hypervisor, it will go out of the resource pool and it will be part of the hypervisor. So I'm just gonna drag it out. Now they're outside, they're no longer part of the resource pool here, right? So yeah, that's a resource pool. If I right click here and go for VApp, so it's pretty straightforward and simple, but important functionality. If I go for VApp, it says you want to create a new VApp. Yes, suppose new, and we give, suppose it's MKT marketing dash VApp. Where do you want to create the VApp? Yeah, in Tor DC. Next, you must create a valid location. Did I not? Next. Oh, I need to select it. Okay. Next. Okay, then VApp also has the option of resource pool. Now, again, what is VApp? VApp is to group together virtual machines to restart, start, shut down together, or in an order. Suppose you have 3 virtual machines part of the VApp, and you say that first virtual machine will restart after updates are done, then 1/22 after that, second machine will start, 1/22 after that, third machine will start. Or you can say all 3 virtual machines will restart together. You can configure that in VApp. But since you're grouping them together, so VMware thought that, hey, why don't we just offer resource pool as part of the VApp as well? Because it doesn't make sense that same 3 machines are part of a resource pool and same 3 machines you want to make a part of VApp as well. So why don't those same 3 machines can part of a VApp to group them together and apply resource pools to them as well. You can do that 2 in 1 as well, right? It's like a container, exactly as Nuruddin says in the chat. Okay, so we already know what is resource pool, CPU and memory reservation, right? So we're not going to configure resource pool. We already know what is that. and click next. And yeah, that's finito to create a VApp. So VApp looks like this. And obviously, if you want to assign a virtual machine to a VApp, you know what to do. I'm gonna just simply drag and drop here. Then again, drag and drop here. So 2 virtual machines are part of the VApp. If I expand that, now you see the virtual machine, and collapse, now you don't. So those virtual machines are inside the VApp now. Okay, what do I do? If I right click here, the VApp actually has a power button. What is the use of that? What I said before, you want to power on, suppose there were 10 virtual machines here. You don't want to go to each virtual machine, right click and go to power and then power on. You want them to start 1/22 after each other. So first virtual machine starts, second virtual machine does not start right away. Second virtual machine waits for 120 seconds, and then it automatically starts as well. Then the third, then the fourth, then the fifth. So that's the default setting of the start order of VApp. So if I go to power on and click that, so first machine will start, then the second machine will start. But where is that setting? See, first machine has started. So I'm going to right click here and go to edit settings, right? Resource pool, we already know how to configure that. What is that? But it's this thing that I wanted to show, start order. So first virtual machine is part of group 1. Second virtual machine, automatically we have did that, right? We have created 2 groups automatically. First virtual machine is part of group 1. Second virtual machine part of group 2. So group 1 virtual machines, there's a 120-second delay in startup order, right? So group 1 machine starts first, then 120-second delay, then group 2 machine starts, right? So this start order you can control, or suppose I select that, or suppose I select the group 1, right? No, suppose I select group 2 and select group 1. So now both machines are part of group 1. This means that if you select power on, both will start together now, right? Because they're part of the group 1. So I can just change the group again, group 2. Now group 1 and group 2, there's a 120-second delay between the two. Suppose there are 10 machines. You put 5 machines in group 1 and 5 machines in group 2. So 5 machines first start together, then 120-second delay, then 5 machines of group 2 start, right? So you can just play with that delay and power off also. If you want to delay with power off as well, you can do that. And Vmware tools are ready till then, continue to start. So this is start and stop order, and this is crucial for maintenance of virtual machines, right? IP allocation is just did this machine, what IP protocol the machines support, and DHCP, OVF, were they imported or exported, or where did they get the IP? So all that information and further details of version of application software installed inside. But the main thing is that you can start, stop, shut down together, or after a certain delay, you can use that. So this is pretty useful because all virtual machines need to have some kind of, combined start and stop because of updates and maintenance need to be done, right? So yeah, that's the VApp feature that I wanted to show. I press OK here. If I right click here to the VApp, yeah, you can create a child VApp as well. You can create a child resource pool inside the VApp as well. You can clone the whole VApp. Suppose there were 10 machines inside. If you clone a VApp, there will be another VApp with the exact copy of those 10 machines. You want to export the VApp along with virtual machines, you can export the whole group outside of vCenter. You want to import from outside any virtual machine, then you can use this option. We're going to be using that. We're trying that in next class. And edit settings we already gone to, and yeah, tag, permission, alarms, rename, edit notes. So all those are common features. But yes, VApp is also powerful for maintenance of virtual machines. Resource pools are powerful for providing crucial CPU and RAM, reserving crucial CPU and RAM for the virtual machines, right? O and K. So guys, take a screenshot of this screen, and screenshot would be resource pool and VApp works. Take a screenshot of this machine, this screen. I mean, if you're there on your side, you can take screenshot. Otherwise, take a screenshot of my screen here, because you should have some kind of screenshot to upload, right? So take a screenshot of my screen, this one. Hopefully you've done that. Do it done. And I'm going to take a sample screenshot here. Everyone just go ahead and take a screenshot of my screen, those who are not following. And then I will put here the sole screenshot of 2 and day. Nah. Yeah, so. And the title is VApp and resource pools work O and K, right? So I'll take a screenshot of the screenshot and put it in the WhatsApp and here. And yeah, so I'll create a folder up there. Go ahead and upload that there. Excuse me. So then you can upload, and we can call it a Thursday night and try to have dinner and try to have sleep. Okay, so this is week 8, right? Okay. Oh, guys, so this Monday this Thursday we are having. That's what we decided. Okay, yeah, I forgot. So this Thursday we're having the quizzes. Week 8, 30.